Looks like we're starting out fairly well. This is, of course, a pre-recorded show because our internet is still yuck. Ah, ew, horrible. But we're doing what we can, all right? For those of you watching or anything else, you can go ahead and use the captions or anything else that you wish to use. If you need this material in other languages, by all means, let us know, okay? Well, this is going to be one of the sensitive topics and things here. This is going to be one that is going to give, well, probably a bit of grief to some folks in how it, I know I'm going to ruffle some feathers here, but I wanted to get some things covered in order to find out where folks were drawing the line. As you know, we've got the Olympics is something that society has enjoyed for a very long time, except now there is no limitations. Everything is so radical that there are some things that need to be recognized. So, case in point, let me state to you that the female Olympic weightlifting champion is currently a male. Hey, don't take my word for it. Look it up. Yeah. We've gone too far as a society as far as what we'll accept or what we'll tolerate or anything else. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody had heard at least once how we can be on track. This is just insulting to certain points. Now, this is not going to be hate speech or anything else. I'm not looking to make anyone feel bad or point anything out. So what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to show you that for God, it's not just gender issues which people try to set up as racial or discriminatory or anything else. No. I'm a firm believer, and I hope that you are, that if God is discriminating against it, it's not discrimination set by man. And of course, I've got things going here, and with today's society, I kind of concerned whether this message is even going to get anywhere. But I'm going to do the best I can to be as gentle as I can. However, there's no sugar added here. You know this. And I've been asked to cover it, so I'm going to. And I'm going to put it into the This Means War series. But we need to be perfectly clear here. All right? One, I'm not saying this to point fingers or anything else. That's not what we do here. We don't point fingers at Broken Bow Ministry. We hold out our hand. All right? Doing that which is unnatural displeases God. Everybody's like, okay, so what's natural and what isn't? Well, this is where mankind tries to say, well, what I'm doing isn't wrong. If you do it certain ways, yeah, it is wrong. But my job here is not to break the rainbows. My job is to educate. My job is to say this is what God says will, and this is what God says won't. And that's all I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to break rainbows on anybody or anything else like that. We have free will. You're more than welcome to have your choice. It just goes by at what point does it go from being your choice to where God has drawn the line, and how far did you go away, or are you on track? This is important. I want you to have a wonderful relationship with God. Now, there are some ways you don't get one, and I don't want you crossing those because it's foolishness to do so. So let's look at it this way. The Bible does, in fact, prohibit all kinds of sexual promiscuity, heterosexual as well as homosexual, bestialities, pedophilia, anything that is not natural or in God's plan or in His design is covered in the Bible, and what goes on there is the limitations. The line is drawn in the sand. You can't say you didn't know, because the only way you wouldn't know is if you never looked. You can take and try all the things you possibly can to excuse it away, but it just doesn't. Here, let me just go ahead and continue straightening this out for folks, okay? As for same-sex marriage, we're all aware that according to the Bible, marriage is heterosexual by definition. In other words, this is what God has decided things should be. By definition, marriage is between a man and a woman. Same-sex marriage, no. Okay, now, here's why I draw upon this. And now we're starting to get close to the borders here, and we're starting to get close to the line, so pay attention. Pay attention. God made them male and female for this cause, and it continued on through there. But what we're going through here is I'm just trying to point. I'm not going to wholly 2x4 you folks. Okay? And the two shall become one flesh. So by God's design, a man and a woman were to become one person in marriage. To do anything else is not natural. To do anything else does in fact go against God's plan. But it's not just as a whipping post. Let's take a look here, okay? Because Leviticus 18:22, thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. Now that means guy and guy, no. It's an abomination. All right, then we go. And the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife. Now see, this isn't anymore even about homosexuality. It has to do with adultery and these other sexual promiscuities. Any sexual promiscuity is not acceptable to God. Okay, and the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, even he that committeth adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. Now, of course, in today's society, we have strung so far away in things that we have kings, presidents, dictators, prime ministers, and the like that rule over us and make a mankind rule instead of a God's rule. Well, I'm telling you right here, as far as if it was still God's rulership, surely put to death would mean surely put to death. But let's get beyond that. Today, you're not killed, but it's definitely unlawful. There are consequences. And here's the other thing. As far as the Lamb's Book of Life, surely be put to death counts. Because once you're erased from the Lamb's Book of Life, that's it. You don't get to scribble in that book. Leviticus 20:11. And the man that lieth with his father's wife hath uncovered his father's nakedness. Both of them shall surely be put to death. You're erased out of the Lamb's Book of Life. Their blood shall be upon them. That's what that means. That's the way. See, by God's rule, that's it. That's death, and nobody can blame that it happened. So by God's rulership and God's law, if the man lies with his father's wife, and they are married, and you know the son lays with the father's wife, that is a capital offense. And it's a capital offense in which anybody that enforces cannot be ruled against, because it says their blood shall be upon them. The guilty are the ones that are charged, not the one that killed the guilt. Now, I'm not saying everybody should run around and start handling justice themselves. That's not what our societies on this planet should be doing. But we should honor the desires of God and say, yea, Lord, you have ruled that this is a wrongful thing to do, and we will judge it so. Okay? If a man also lie with mankind, as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination, not just adultery, but an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. So when a man and a man lay together, same thing. Now, you might think there's really no excuse there. Leviticus 20:14, and if a man take a wife and her mother, it is wickedness. They shall be burnt with fire. Now, that's burning somebody at the stake kind of thing, both he and they, that there be no wickedness among you. And see, and there's where God states out, hey, look, I'm just trying to protect the community here. These kind of things are not allowed. Okay, Leviticus, and if a man lie with a beast, whichever creature that would be other than mankind, he shall surely be put to death, and ye shall slay the beast that he laid with. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Of course, I'm sure there's some things in California that would, they're trying to make some pretty strange laws. Leviticus 20:16, and if a woman approach unto any beast and lie down thereto, thou shalt kill the woman and the beast. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. And if a man shall take his sister, now see, look at this. This is incest. And if a man shall take his sister, his father's daughter, or his mother's daughter, and see her nakedness, and she see his nakedness, it is a wicked thing. It's not a good thing. It's not permittable. Hello, California. Don't make a law making this the right when it's the wrong. And they shall be cut off in the sight of their people. In other words, society itself will just cut them off. That's it. He hath uncovered his sister's nakedness and shall bear his iniquity. Now notice they're not put to death, but they are definitely put out of society. So, let's take a look here. Leviticus 20:18, and if a man shall lie with a woman having her sickness. Now, in biblical times, they didn't say menstrual cycles or anything else like that. So, that's just the way that is. And shall uncover her nakedness, he hath discovered her fountain, and she hath uncovered the fountain of her blood, and both of them shall be cut off from among their people. In other words, you could even have sex at the wrong time between a man and a woman, and it's not permittable. So you see, I've stated now that it was not hate speech because I wanted you to listen to where the boundaries really are with what I'm trying to tell you. So let's just start from, okay, man and a woman at the wrong time. No. Anything that is unnatural? No. So you see, this is not rainbow breaking. This is the truth. You cannot take the Word of God as a tool or an iron rod to break rainbows. It's not what it's there for. It's not the truth of the matter. This is the truth of the matter. Promiscuity and things which are unnatural are an abomination to God. He has already told us there's consequences for that. And thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, nor of thy father's sister, for he uncovereth his near kin. They shall bear their iniquity. So you see, that's called out outright. And if a man shall lie with his uncle's wife, he hath uncovered his uncle's nakedness. They shall bear their sin and shall die childless. They're not even allowed to have kids at that point. So, and if a man shall take his brother's wife, now get this, and if a man shall take his brother's wife, they're still married. It is an unclean thing. He hath uncovered his brother's nakedness, they shall be childless. Biblically, it's quite simple. I mean, we can take and very logically look at it, Biblically, things that are not natural are condemned because it does not follow God's plan for our lives. This is the biblical point of it. Notice no holy 2x4. I'm not saying, oh, well, you. I'm not pointing a finger. I'm holding out a hand. Biblically, things that are not natural are condemned because it does not follow God's plan. If you don't want to follow God's plan, that's up to you. You have free will. I have only the job to educate. I'm a voice in the wind crying, let's all serve God. That leaves us, though, without excuse. Things that are created of DNA are that particular DNA. I have my chromosomes. I know what I'm to be. If I at any time am confused, I merely have to look down and say, yep, that is what I am. That is what I'm to act. That is what I'm to be. This is now therefore my position in God's plan on what should be so and what should not be so. You cannot change your DNA. You can get out the knife and change however your appearance is or anything else. You can get out a knife and pluck out an eye because it offends God. You can take and cut off a hand because it offends God. You can cut off your members because they offend God. You can take and even with your own free will, which is foolishness at times, to cut that which is yours from your members, but it will not change your DNA. You can either choose to act accordingly to your DNA or have the mental disability of thinking that you have the ability to change your DNA simply by thought or actions. You cannot. Your gender will be your gender. Your ways will be your ways. You're without excuse because God's choice for you is your DNA. He knew you before you were even conceived. How can you say that God made a mistake in forming you when He knew who you were going to be before you were even conceived? That's foolishness. Anything else that you try to say that is going to be right in your promiscuity before God is foolishness. And that's all of it. I'm not saying just this certain section, just this certain distance, just this certain manner. I'm saying all the promiscuous manners in which God has mentioned in Leviticus. Foolishness to choose to act in a manner contrary to God. Choosing to do that which is not natural. That's foolishness. You're without excuse. A better way is to choose to obey God. Now, I know that's nothing that makes it easy. I know. But if you need help, then turn to help. But don't go against God. This isn't a light thing that you do. If you choose to go against God, it is not the course you should take. Male and female as husband and wife, they both become one flesh. Husband and wife. Anything else is foolishness. It really is. But even the husband and wife have conditions and rules that they are to abide by, which even included something I've mentioned already in here, and that is you can have sex out of season concerning the wife. I'm not going to get heavily into that. Hit your Bible, blow the dust off it, and read about it yourselves. There's consequences. Anything else other than God's plan is doomed to separate you from God. Do you want to be separated from God? I don't, so I do the very best I can to follow His line in the sand, His leadership, His rulership, His parenting, His way, His plan. To do anything else separates us from God. I know, I'll get the essay, that was hate speech and all this other stuff. Well, no, I've already been charged once already, or twice actually, for hate speech when I was asked, okay, can a sinner, now you put the word sinner to mention whatever sin it is you think I'm pointing at. And I'm probably pointing at it, okay? Too bad. So here you go. Can a sinner come to church? Yes. I answered this question when a young man living in his sin by choice was barred from going to a church. And he came to me and says, does he have the right to bar me from going to church? I said, no, he doesn't. What's his phone number? I'll call him. I'll walk all up and down him. You have every right to go to church. And he goes, well, I'm this way and that way. I'm a sinner. Can I learn about Jesus? Oh, yes. Yes. As a matter of fact, if you want to come to our fellowship and learn, by all means. Then he turns and says, can one continue in that particular sin and be saved? I said, no. He hung up and called a lawyer. How about that? Separation of church and state. I guess that only happens when you're giving the answer they want to hear. But I've told you, if you ask me a question, but don't want me to say the truth, bid me silent. Because if you ask me a question, you're going to get the truth. Can I go to church? Yes. Can I learn about Jesus? Oh, yes. Can I continue in what separates me from God and be saved? No. That's a fact. Thank you for allowing me to take the time to try to clarify that it's not a holy 2x4 that we should be bringing, but we have all these formats and all these things and capabilities to try to help. We're not the greatest at it. You know, we make mistakes. We do. We make mistakes so regularly that God already knows. God already has it figured out. I've got the Bible open right here, so if you have any questions or anything else, we can look your answers up so fast and I can walk you through it. Now, if you turn around and say, well, I've got to have a translation or anything else like that, may I please say this to you? What is it that they're translating? If they're translating something, what is it they're translating? Well, I'm here to tell you what they're translating. I have already read multiple times and studied. It is my main thing, is to help you understand it. So the only reason you do not know is because you haven't asked the question. Don't go buy some sugared over, lily-livered garbage of a translation that's going to steer you straight to the gates of hell. Stick with the truth. Ask. All right? Would you do that for me? All righty. Well, as always, folks, I've tried to give you what I can. I've tried to give you the peace of my heart that says I love you. And without holy 2x4ing you, teach the Word of God for your life. This is Pastor Bob with Broken Mold Ministry, saying you have yourself a wonderfully blessed day.
Lean on me.